Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Forgotten OneCast. I am your host, CJP, and I want to welcome you to this fine Thursday evening where we are going to be talking digital music with DJAxis. So let's go ahead and bring him on in. And Mr. Axis, how are we doing today?
What's
Or
up?
is it just DJ?
Um, you can call me DJ. That's fine with me.
Not Mr. Axis.
I mean, just whatever you want. Doesn't matter. But I'm
Awesome.
I'm I'm doing all right. I'm eager to talk digital music with you.
Yes,
One of
yes.
the few things that I still have passion for in the world.
Yeah. It really is kind of hard to keep that passion going sometimes. But every once in a while,
Yeah.
you'll work on something. You're like, oh, now I remember why I do this.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
Awesome. Well, we got a couple people in the chat already. Got Mr. Paul Hadouken.
Hadouken. What's going
Yeah,
on, Paul?
great guy. He's always in the Legion chats and everything, and helps out with people with music if they want to use it for their memes and stuff like that, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And this is Mr. Moss. He's my bass player. So
Nice. What's up?
awesome. Well, yeah, we'll just kind of give us a brief overview, how you got into doing music digitally, where they can find you. You just kind of give us a little brief overview.
Sure.
DJ
Okay.
that is access.
Okay. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm DJAxis. I've been writing music for quite a long time, since maybe the mid 90s or so. Professionally, since about the early 2000s. And in 2007, I was on a often forgotten website called Screw Attack with Stuttering Craig and all those other people, where I had a show called Retro Remix, where I would remix video game music. Uh, I think it was by request too. I remember taking some requests from people, but you can find me here on YouTube and on Rumble. I also have a Twitter account, DJAxisRR, and that's where my stuff is. But as far as music in general, digital music, um, so I would my numbers might be off on this. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but for me, I would say true digital music kind of got its start in like the 1980s at some point. Especially once the first tracker program was released in about 1987. I never had the Commodore Amiga, unfortunately. I didn't start messing with music digitally until about the mid 90s. And I had a program for PC called Mod Edit. And what it allowed you to do was create Amiga mod files. There were 4 channels of audio, and they were kind of restrictive with the quality on each sample. But the fact that you could more or less save whatever samples you wanted, and save those to your song, really gave you a lot of freedom with how your music could sound. And it to even to this day, just music of that era is just so recognizable for me. Like there's a couple of video games that use tracker music from that era that it just, as soon as you hear it, you just immediately know where music like that comes from, and what software was used.
Mhm. Well, I know, especially NES music, is
Yeah.
so recognizable even to this day.
Yeah,
But they
exactly.
only had 4 channels to work with, so
I
they
mean,
had to be very creative with what.
technically technically 5 if you
Oh
count
yeah,
the I think it was the DCPME channel or something like that. There was the NES had 4 dedicated channels, so it was 2 triangle waves, a square wave, and a noise channel. And then there was a fifth channel where you could put digitized samples, but they were extremely restrictive.
yeah.
Um, but the stuff that I really messed with tracker programs was where you could use every instrument. Was They were all digital samples that you would have to load in yourself, and you could just it was a bit like the Wild West back then with samples, because I didn't have a keyboard or like real instruments to where I could just record them. And my dad wasn't about to spend money on something like that.
Right.
So I pretty much had to get any of my samples were from like other mod files or other music files. And I was just kind of cobble stuff together just to have fun with it. I didn't take any of it seriously back then.
Okay. As
S-
did you train formally for music, or is it just something
No,
that we kind of pulled up as a side hobby?
I'm all self-taught. I never studied music theory or anything like that. I mean, apart from just music classes in high school and things like that. So I can't play a single musical instrument or anything. I can't play the keyboard. I can't play guitar. But if you put me in front of a tracker or a sequencer, I can probably convince you that I can play something. Maybe.
The old music adage, fake it until you make it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Like
So,
I'm more of a self-taught on other instruments, but I did actually do formal training in
oh, for
percussion
real?
and stuff like that. So
Nice.
I made the dumbass mistake of getting a music performance degree.
Oh no.
Yeah, that was
Well,
dumb.
well, at least you're getting some use out of it now. Making your own
True,
music.
true,
So
true.
I would,
I play in a cover band with Tulsa, so I'm still doing music and
yeah.
doing all that. And I didn't even really start publishing my own stuff until COVID hit because then
Mhm.
we couldn't go play anywhere, and I still wanted to produce and still wanted to make music. So I figured, well,
Yeah,
this is about
exactly.
the only way I'm going to be able to do it. So I've got VSTs that I'd downloaded
Mhm.
over the years.
Completely legitimately, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't Johnny Depp them at all. No,
Yeah.
although I did work at the Guitar Center for a few years, so I actually did get some of those legit. Because they would, as an employee, sometimes they'd let you, use software,
Mhm.
without having to pay for it. So, and then just
Yeah.
forget to turn off the key.
Oh, sneaky.
That's like the only reason I ever got to learn how to use Cubase was because of that.
Oh, nice.
But
I
I
don't.
was always a Cakewalk guy because I started back
Yeah.
with Cakewalk Gold
Oh,
in
damn.
like 2003 or so.
Oh man, Cakewalk's been around forever too.
Yeah,
Like I want to say it's early '90s, but it could be '80s too, late
yeah.
'80s, I think.
Because when I went through Sonar, all the different versions of that, up until they got sold to Gibson, and then Gibson decided, oh, we don't want this anymore, so we're just going to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Thank God Band Labs picked it up, and then they put it out for free.
Nice.
You can get the full version of Cakewalk Sonar for free, and they continuously update it.
That's pretty cool.
And so, I mean, I use Pro Tools for the actual recording if
Mhm.
I'm doing live instruments.
Yeah.
But for VSTs, I use Cakewalk just because it's so much easier to do it than Pro Tools. Pro Tools hates anything that's not an AU format.
Yeah, I've heard horror stories about musicians and music producers that try to use Pro Tools. Like,
Yeah,
nah, I'm good.
yeah. Like for actual recording, I'm great with it, but it's just yeah. Oh, what's up? Scrambles the Death Dealer. What's up,
What's up?
Scrambles? I was using Acid Pro. I haven't actually used Acid Pro. I know my bass player uses Audacity, but that's mainly
Mhm.
because he's just using it to load the our backing tracks in so we can control the individual instruments.
Mhm.
But so yeah, so Screw Attack, how did that come about?
Okay, so there is like one step in my musical journey before Screw
Oh,
Attack.
okay. Yeah.
Um, between um, messing with Mod Edit and Screw Attack, I was using another piece of software from about late 1990s until early 2000, around 2002. And that would be Impulse Tracker 2. That's when I was really hitting my stride with the tracker music. And there's quite a few pieces of tracker software. I don't know if that's really your jam, like if you know anything about tracker music or
I'm
like.
familiar with it. I just never actually messed with it because actually writing music, by
Mhm.
hand, I never really learned the programming side of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so like there really is not too much difference between a sequencer and a tracker. So like Cakewalk is a sequencer, or even what I use now, FL Studio would be considered a music sequencer.
Right.
But really the short and sweet answer is sequencers when you look at like the piano roll or like the sheet music, it's displayed horizontally, whereas trackers are usually oriented vertically. And it kind of looks like you're like hex editing when you put in like note data. So there
Mhm.
will be like you'll put in like the key of the note, you'll put the octave number, and then you'll put in some extra parameters, and it's all like really fucking nerdy
Yeah.
when you look at it on paper. But it's kind of like a means to an end, like comparing trackers to sequencers. And the other really important thing of note with trackers specifically is, as I said with Mod Edit, with a tracker program, all of the instrument data, all of the sound data is stored in your song itself. It's not stored in like a MIDI keyboard. It's not using a sound font or anything like that or a
Mhm,
VST. It's all stored independently in the song.
mhm.
But that's really the nitty gritty of it. Like it's still you're still using it to it's basically still an early version of a DAW, whether you're using a sequencer or a tracker. It's
Right,
just
right.
it's just what I happen to use. And I think I tried using Cakewalk at one point and I just couldn't wrap my head around it. So just for me it was tracker programs or nothing.
And this is the one you just posted today, correct? The Far and Away?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I'm glad you pulled that up. That's the original IT file, the Impulse Tracker audio file. But yeah, I just posted this today, and I was going to mention this on here as a good example of what my tracker music used to sound like. And this was actually encoded by a friend of mine, but it's done. It's like all the audio is directly through Impulse Tracker itself. All of the visual elements. So this is what it looks like when you're just playing it back through that tracker.
Okay. Any more background on the song itself?
Um, that song in particular, I had originally made it in 1998 because my oldest brother wanted to make like a JRPG, and the it never happened. Like the RPG really never went anywhere because we just couldn't agree on things. But all of the music, I didn't make every single track for the game, but I had like a good many of them that I still have the IT files for, and I do plan on like posting a lot more of my really, really old Impulse Tracker works. So for anyone interested in like vintage tracker music that you probably won't hear anywhere else, I haven't really shared most of that with the general public.
Mhm. Well, awesome. Let's give this a listen. Hopefully this works because my PC for some reason just doesn't like me when it comes
Fingers
to
crossed.
sharing audio on while I'm live streaming. So let's see how this works.
All right, here's to hoping. I don't think it's working. Yes, DJ, I don't think it's
It's
working.
not working.
The
Okay.
Yeah, the chat can't hear anything, and neither can I.
Uh, Here's how I usually do this. If you could pull that up and share it, it usually works that better that way. I don't know what it is with my system. It's one of
Yeah,
those
let me see.
things. I'm a noob when it comes to live streaming. So I'm
Um,
still learning the ins and outs of this crap.
yeah. How can I share that?
Yeah, just pull up your put it up on yours and then just share screen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, hang on a second here. All right. Yeah, I don't think I've ever done this with the things here. Let me see.
Just say, go to present at the bottom and it'll give you an option to share screen.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. This should work. Let me see here. Screen sharing. Blah blah blah.
Just don't share the nudie side.
Okay.
You gotta keep those tabs open. Although, looking at when Twitter changed their name, it just looks like a big X on my tab, and I'm like, that really just looks like I've got something wrong up.
Um. Okay. I think it's this screen. Or is it showing up?
I'm not seeing it yet.
All right. Hang on.
So yeah, just go to
Boy,
the
oh boy.
present, share screen.
Oh, okay. I see what I need to do. I have to choose allow. Okay. Is that working?
There we go.
Okay.
There we go. Now
All
let's try playing it, see if it works.
right. Fingers crossed.
And I'm not hearing it now.
All right, is the audio working?
No?
Hmm.
Well, shucky darn. We may not have to get a chance to listen to it. Well, that's just annoying. We'll do this. Is I will put the link for the channel in the chat. So you guys go over to his channel. You like and subscribe. And then we can go from there. Oh, there's Etapukuyan from the Place to Be Reviews. I'm on his channel quite a bit.
Oh, nice.
Stopping by to show some love before his world-class bullshitter stream. So thank you, Mr. Etap.
Sweet.
And I will see you on Saturday night for Saturday night's main event.
Nice.
I really do appreciate him because he's really the first person other than on the Legion that allowed me to come on his channel and just BS and get my feet wet
Mhm.
in the live streaming space. So my hat's off to you, sir.
Gas. Yeah, I was just gonna say like props to the Legion because I got introduced to them through Extra Zero,
Mhm.
and I've already been on a couple of Legion shows already, and you guys are just awesome. You just every one of you put out amazing stuff.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. In fact, I just did one meme to yesterday on that stupid Mexican alien mummy.
Yeah, I think I saw your meme
Yeah.
on that too.
Oh god, that thing is meme gold. Although I
It
did
looks
see one today that may be the funniest version of it. Someone put an afro on it, and it said the year is 2063, and it's Colin Kaepernick going, "I'm still ready to play."
nice.
God died when I saw that.
Oh boy, the thing looks like it's made out of paper mache too. It's just so fake.
Thank you, ETEP. Yeah, awesome, dude. Yeah, go check out his channel too, because he does 3 nights a week, and then he does like videos during the day and all sorts of stuff. I think they did a live reaction to the Nintendo stream today.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I need to. I've it's been a slow process for me, but I've been trying to follow every Legion member and check out their shows and stuff. But there's quite a few. Like
There is, there
there's
is.
like over 30 members of the Legion, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and I know. I mean, not
Yeah.
only from the Legion stream, Extra Zero's got his show for the Transformers
hmm
toys. Derby Wormy's got Ballbusters. There is Devil Made Me Do It's got Beelzebub on Saturday or Sundays with the Get
hmm
Ranked show. I mean, those are just the three that I know off the top of my head. And Horny Alf's always constantly doing game streams. So yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
Which actually, that's why I'm kind of glad the writer strike's going on because we don't have to worry about competition.
yeah. Exactly. You guys got all the entertainment covered.
Awesome. Well, back to the music part of it. So,
Okay.
with Screw Attack,
Yep.
you were doing the retro remixes. How did that go?
Okay.
'Cause unfortunately, I missed that channel back in the day. So, or that website because I was still trolling around Newgrounds and E-Bombs World at that point.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a regular to e-bombs or Newgrounds, but I've definitely been there more than my fair share. That and maybe YTMND back
Mhm.
in the day. But Screw Attack specifically, I first found out about Screw Attack in 2006, and it's because my oldest brother sent me a Angry Nintendo Nerd video for the first time, and I was just hooked from then on. That was just the popular humor at the time on the internet. It was just all vulgarity and
Oh yeah, the
dick
fun
and
stuff.
fart jokes. Yeah, exactly. Just I couldn't get enough. It was just hilarious. So I was like, "Where can I find more of his videos?" And he was like, "Yeah, they're on this site called Screw Attack. I don't know anything about it, so I'm just like, maybe I'll go check out Screw Attack." And I slowly started taking in more content on the show from like 2006 or from that site from about 2006 till 2007 until one fateful day on the Side Scrollers podcast when Stuttering Craig and Handsome Tom made mention that they had enough video game related content on the site and they had enough like essays and trivia, things like that, like skit comedy. But one thing Craig wanted very very specifically he wanted something music related. He wanted like either a musical podcast or he wanted somebody to do like video game music reviews or just something like that. He just wanted to dip his toes into the musical realm or the music side of things to introduce that into the Screw Attack like content rotation. And I knew that was my time. Like I was already burned on the professional music gig. Like I had tried for years at this point to go pro, and thanks to a really shitty manager who was more or less a con artist, like I just never got anywhere professionally. So I'm just like, fuck it, I'm going underground. I don't care. I'm just sick of dealing with people and having them screw me over. So I sent Craig an email, and I was like, from that point on, I started to work on basically like a demo reel. Like I made the first episode, which was centered around the game Shadowgate. And I called
Hmm.
the episode "Shadowgate is Shadow Great." And if you ever want to know like how much of an impression that made, when I came back this year in 2023, when I basically just went into Craig's one of his evening streams when he was kind of just addressing the G2s, the first thing he said to me was, "Oh, hey, that's DJAxis. He made a show called Retro Remix on Screw Attack, and the first episode he made is called Shadowgate is Shadow Great, and let me tell you, it is great." So for him to have pulled me aside like that and just to remember everything like it was yesterday, I know how much he enjoyed the show that I put on, and it just really hit me. I felt some kind of way hearing Craig just remember that so fondly.
I've only streamed with Craig once, but I was already that one time impressed with just how genuine he is to the community and how much he
Mhm.
loves the community, and how much he was kind of hurt by that, how that whole thing went down with them. And
Yeah, yes. I know he's seen some shit with Screw Attack. The first thing that happened was in 2008 when him and Handsome Tom kind of went their separate ways, and the community was kind of split. Like some people were basically Team Craig and some were Team Tom, and there's still people that side with either Craig or Tom respectively, and I can't really speak to it one way or the other. Like I was kind of already out the door at that point with Screw Attack. I did 10 episodes of Retro Remix. So it was about like maybe 9 or 10 months on the site doing stuff, and just things happening offline, and I just kind of like got pulled away from all of that, just dealing with offline shit that I just don't even really want to get into. It's just
oh
that's
yeah,
a whole other mess for another day.
we're not a drama channel, we're a music
Y
channel.
Yeah, exactly, but, I mean, I was still following music, I was still following, some of the stuff dealing with Screw Attack, and even a couple of years later, in around 2010 or 2011 or so, I did make an unofficial season 2 to Retro Remix, where I did, Mega Man 5, Gremlins 2, Magic of Scheherazade, DuckTales, Iron Sword, and oh, what was the other one? Fuck. Metroid, of
Mm,
course, the one I forget is
um,
Metroid. And then a track from Mario 64, Dire Dire Docks, and I think I put them up on SoundClick or some site like that, and they weren't really like they didn't have nearly the traction that my original 10 songs had on Screw Attack, obviously, but I
oh
mean,
yeah.
they were still up for people who wanted to find them.
And we had a stream by from Melee K from Melee Games. Great stream.
Nice.
DJAxis is such a talent. Want to see him continue to excel. Can't get enough of CJP's Bond mixes either. Well, I appreciate
Exactly.
that. Yeah, I had
Yeah,
a lot of fun with those sound fonts, and finally learning how to make the radar gong,
mhm,
because it's actually an instrument in the sound font called Infinite One,
mhm,
and it's played on a G5 with a crap ton of reverb.
mhm,
So I thought about just recording that on
mhm.
on its own and recording it like maybe like 5 or 6 times and just putting that out and just see how quickly that gets downloaded. So he's like, everyone here, you have it. Have the gong. Play with it. Enjoy it.
I was gonna say, like, I always wondered how some of those, samples and instruments were done in GoldenEye, because I think I found a GoldenEye sound font, and like you were saying, like that gong, the radar gong is like I couldn't figure out how they made it sound the way they did.
Mm. I think
So,
I've got pretty close. Like I said, it's on a G5.
hmm,
And like I said, just added enough reverb to it, and it sounds pretty close to the original. This is as close as I could get it.
sweet.
And then yeah, and the thing with the bonds, especially like doing anything from the actual game itself, the hardest thing I've always found when doing like any kind of video game remixes on my own is
Mhm.
finding decent enough MIDI files that I can build off of and actually get the corrected notes
Yeah.
without having to actually do it by hand, which I hate.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's definitely something I wanted to touch on with doing video game remixes like then versus now, and how much
Mm,
easier it is. Just how much more resources there are for, you know, game music notation.
yeah. Well, because I used an NSF program, and I
Hmm.
can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Because I'm working on, I always try to, do a special track when I hit a certain sub level.
Hmm.
And I wanted for when I actually hit 1,000, I wanted to do like a full NES game soundtrack with the sound fonts.
Nice.
But, in the game I'm looking at, I won't tell the name, but
Hmm.
just finding accurate MIDI information has been almost impossible for this game.
Yeah,
It
certain
was an
games it's
unpopular game.
I was gonna say, like, even some kind of popular games, it's not always easy to find either the sheet music for it, or to find like if someone has like ripped, you know, proper audio from it, or just getting like a one to one, you know, note chart, or
Mm,
just any sort of like notation. Sometimes it can be a real hassle. For me, it's like old DOS games. Like, unless you have something where you can just like straight up extract the MIDI, just
mm,
forget about it. It's
yeah.
impossible to find it. So like you said, like your choices at that point are basically just doing it by ear, which is just ugh.
Midis are underrated, Jazzy Panda. I do agree.
By the way, big ups to Jazzy Panda. He's basically like my super fan.
Ah, nice.
Dude is awesome.
Well, I know he subbed to my channel, so that's always a
Yeah,
plus in my book.
he is a tracker music aficionado.
Ah.
He got his start around the same time I did, maybe a little bit later, like early 2000s, messing with like, you know, DOS based programs. And yeah, he me and him have had many chats about our fondness for like music of the DOS era, or just early video game soundtracks.
Mm.
He knows his shit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's still I'll still pull up an NES soundtrack just to listen, just because it takes you back to playing the game as a kid,
Hmm. Yeah.
but just the complexity of some of those songs that they were able to pull off with such limited channels and limited sound range is impressive.
Yeah, and not only that too, but I've heard so NES games were all written in assembler, I believe,
Mhm.
was the programming language. And they didn't have like any sort of like tracking or sequencing software. I think it was done with some sort of like weird hex editing or something like that, the way they had to like implement their music. But it's it's like just seeing someone writing NES music for like, you know, on period hardware, it just my brain explodes thinking
Mhm.
about how complicated that must have been. And I it makes me eternally thankful, you know, that I grew up in an era where making digital music was getting easier and easier and
Oh, yes.
easier.
Oh, yes. I mean, GarageBand was a
Mhm.
godsend for a lot of people.
Oh, I know. I never used it
Easy to
myself,
use.
but man, everyone was using that.
That and Reason. A lot of
Mhm.
people I know used Reason.
I tried using Reason, I just couldn't get into it. There is something about modular, like, synthesis or modular synthesizers that just I can't do it, dude. Like,
Mm.
once you start messing with, like, cables and shit like that,
Yeah.
nah, I'm checking out. I'm a head out, fam.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I remember I took a class in college, called electronic music, and it's the first time I ever got to use, um, an actual DAW back in
Mhm,
college. So this is a bit have been around 98 or so.
mhm.
But we started, really at the beginning because he had us actually pulling up he had an actual Moog synthesizer that was built for the school specifically by Moog himself,
Oh,
which
sweet.
was just awesome. So we were actually, oscillating, changing cabling and everything and routing and then recording to a tape to tape reel
Mhm.
and then having to do tape edits, reverse tape loops, and having to do it like literally old school, slicing the
Yeah,
tape,
like
taping
like
the
physically slicing the tape up. Damn.
yeah. And then we moved over to the digital, learning to use the piano roll and all that stuff. But
Mhm.
Although for years, up until the last few years, just because I got lazy,
Mhm.
I would actually go into Cakewalk and use the sheet music to write it and actually write it, notate it out
Mhm.
that way. But then I just guess like that's just way too much work.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, as soon as I got my hands on FL Studio, or Fruity Loops as it was called back in the day, I never looked back. You know, as soon as I saw that FL on the horizon, I just I took the ball and I ran with it, and I've been using FL Studio ever since. Just I love that program.
I got a friend of mine who's a guitarist. He uses Studio One. That's
Mhm.
his weapon of choice. So
Mhm.
it's always fun to talk to people who use different DAWs just to kind of see what got them into it.
Mhm.
If they've tried the ones and just because of the interface they didn't like it. That was why I was
Yeah.
with Cubase.
Mhm.
Is Cubase is fantastic because Steinberg, they invented the VST.
Mhm.
So Cubase works fantastic. Or I guess now it's Studio One is what Cubase used to be.
Mhm.
So it works fantastic for that, but I just could never get past the interface.
Mhm. Yeah. Didn't Cubase start out on like the Atari ST or something like that?
That I wouldn't be surprised.
I think that's where Cubase got its start, because I remember Jungle, the genre Jungle, um was exclusively done on, I think it was Cubase back in like the late 90s. Just that's a whole other can of worms, is like specific genres that were birthed from, very very specific points in time and very
Mhm.
specific pieces of software or hardware. But yeah, I definitely get where you're coming from with some DAWs. You open them up and you're like, I don't even know what the fuck I'm looking at here.
Yeah.
And then other ones you just kind of take to them like a fish to water.
Mm. Pro Tools was actually fairly intuitive, other than a few things that I had to look up. But
Hmm.
and Cakewalk was the same way. Of course, like I said, I've been using Cakewalk since Cakewalk Gold, so their interface itself really didn't change a lot. Like all the parameters where you're looking for are under the same tabs that they've always been,
Hmm.
which is nice. So even with the newest version, I know where to find if I'm looking for quantize or like scale velocity, that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
thankfully, it's prettier definitely than it used to be,
Hmm.
and they do have a lot more integrated functionality, which is nice. But it's still functionally the same program that it's been since the mid '90s at least.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, FL Studio is the same way. Like, um, I still remember how and in fact, I think you could download old versions from ImageLine. But when I started in 3.56, the only real difference to that and version 21 is it looks more primitive, and there's just obviously less native features to it, and
Mhm.
just kind of less bells and whistles under the hood. But functionally everything is still kind of where it should be. The piano roll basically looks the same. The step sequencer and things like that, they're all just sort of like where they should be. And even though things might have like a different name to them, generally, like if you started out with an earlier version, you could just kind of pick up the new one and just take off.
And I think I figured out my audio issue, so I'm actually going to try to pull this song back up again. Let's
Oh,
see how this
sweet.
goes. All right,
Fingers crossed once again.
come on. All right, chat. You got to let me know if this works because I think I figured it out. Hopefully, it doesn't echo. I can hear it.
Okay, I heard a little bit of it, but it's like it seems to be getting like cut off. So it's like it's there, but it's not.
Yeah, that's very strange.
Huh.
You
It's
figure,
it's like it's like it wants to play.
yeah, yeah. It's like, please, please, sir, I want to. Please, more.
Please, sir, may I have another?
Gosh darn it. Well, I'm gonna have to do some research on this because this is a music podcast. I should be able to play music on it.
Your
Damn it.
podcast has one job, CJ. Come on.
I know.
Ah, well.
Well, I mean, StreamYards really isn't made for audio, really.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It compresses the F out of everything.
Hmm.
But so definitely go over to Mr. DJ's Axis's channel, like and subscribe, listen, put it on the background, get the man some watch hours.
Yeah, in fact, shout outs to the Melee Games crew. What they usually do is for all their pre-streams or whenever James goes on break, they just put my music and Paul Hadouken's music on like a combined playlist. And I mean, hey, I can always use the watch hours. I'm not going to
Oh, yeah.
complain.
Oh, yeah.
And I've already mentioned my music, by the way, for everyone listening. My music is free to use for your videos or your live stream. You don't even need to ask permission. All you got to do is just give me a shout out or sub to my channel. Just have at it. That's what it's for.
Yeah, Paul, I'm trying to learn how OBS works. So the last time I tried to use it to start a stream, it effed everything up.
Mm.
So it's figuring out how to get that stuff to work together. That's my bugaboo at the moment.
Yeah, it's a. If I knew how to do it, I'd be able to. I would try to help you out, dude. But
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Oh, yeah.
still just as new to this as you are.
Oh, good Lord. Gotta love allergy season.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's so
Like I said, for me, it's like 9 months out of the year because
real
I live so
estate.
close. Since I live so close to Lake Erie, it's fun.
Oh yeah, Paul. I'll have to DM you. Try to get this thing done because I'd like to do some premieres of music on the channel, and of course it works if I have just the video file separately. But if I try to share it from another browser, that's when StreamYard is like, I don't know what you want to do, but I don't like it. I don't like what you're doing. But and I did want to thank you for the suggestion of Game Musician because he's going to be on next week.
Sweet. Yeah, I found that guy on oh, what was it? It was either on Twitter or his channel was just recommended to me out of the blue, and I'm like, as soon as I heard his lo-fi like renditions of just various just awesome songs, and he does like some really good long form content as well. He'll definitely be a great addition to the show for sure.
I've been trying to reach out and find anyone associated with the Advantage or with Mini Bosses because I really want to get them on.
Hmm.
Because I don't know if you're familiar with their work.
Refresh my memory.
They would do the actual rock band versions of NES tunes.
Okay.
Like they would have 2 guitars, bass, and drums.
Nice.
So they had the 4 channels, and they would do remixes basically of different games. So they did a Batman one as well. That same
Mhm.
one that you put on your channel.
Mhm.
So, but it's with an actual band.
Sweet. Yeah, I'll have to give them a listen at some point. I'm
'Cause I
always in the
think
market to listen to new remixes.
because I'm actually curious if I can run this old school. Let's see let's see if I can do this. I'm gonna see what happens because everyone's gonna laugh when they see what I'm gonna pull up here. They are. I know they are. And here you are. Nope, that's not the wrong folder. All right, let's see if this works. He pulls up that. Let's actually see if it plays. What's up, Shaka Zulu? I still use Winamp. I don't care what anyone says. It's still the best one for just playback.
Man, I miss me some Winamp. Oh, hey, that actually sounds like it's working.
Oh yeah, nice. Hoping I don't claim for this.
You shouldn't, but I mean, you never can tell with YouTube.
And I think Winamp just crashed on me. Ah, I let
Figures.
at least it played the song.
Yeah. At least we all got to hear it.
Well, there was an era actually right around the time you were doing Screw Attack, because there was the Advantage, there was the mini bosses, the Neskimos was another one that would do this,
Mhm.
but they would just do 4-piece rock renditions of NES music, and I
Damn.
absolutely loved it.
I think I actually heard that particular remix that you played, but it's been such a long
Oh yeah,
time.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Mega Man might be the most prolific one for MIDI files though, because I mean it's Mega Man.
Hmm.
Because I can find Mega Man all day long. Some of the more obscure games, that's where it gets harder.
Yeah, like pretty much all 6 Mega Mans on the NES, you can if you can't find MIDIs of it, you can definitely find the NSF files, and then you could just convert the NSF to MIDI and kind of go from there.
Because there's a
So,
program that does it. It's really bare bones.
yep. In
And
fact, it's the same one I use for NES songs. I think it's just called NSF to MIDI,
yeah, that's
if I
the one.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's super simple, and the only other thing, at least for me, that it doesn't seem to want to do is it doesn't preserve the time signatures properly. So
Yeah,
like
I have
I'll
found that
get
out.
okay, so that's not just for me, but
No.
yeah, like it'll put all the notes in. You'll just have to position them properly. So at least it kind of cuts down on half the work.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, I just try to basically kind of make an OMF file out of it and
Mhm.
then open it back up in Cakewalk. So then I can just import it as an OMF file, which is open MIDI format.
Okay, gotcha.
Because OMF doesn't save um, events. It just saves the notes. So you would have to go
Oh,
back
okay.
in and add, if you want, velocity changes or anything like that, you would still have to do that by hand. But you
Hmm.
would at least preserve the notation part of it, which I think is
Yeah.
the most important part of it because it's a lot easier to add effects than it is to add notes.
Yeah, especially there's some NES songs that are extremely difficult.
Mm,
Just listen to something like Silver Surfer, just holy shit.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I think this is a nice segue into talking about like implementing remixes or like getting the notation for it since you had mentioned wanting to discuss that too, like what it was like
Yeah.
then versus now.
Oh yeah.
So I actually think I have some old Impulse Tracker remixes. And back then, it was 100% I'd have to do it by ear. I didn't have any sort of software to like get musical notation or to, like auto transcribe notes or anything. I just had to listen to the actual song that I'm trying to remix and then just manually plot each note in. And oh boy, that is
Time consuming.
that is time consuming. That is you have to really love remixing to want to do it that way. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah. I mean, just in general, because I did the Goldberg's WCW theme for
Hmm.
my 400 sub,
Hmm.
and I found a MIDI file for it, and it was all right until it got to the last half of the track, and then it was like you just forgot that whole last half of the track existed.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I was a big WCW fan back in the day,
Mhm.
so I heard that Goldberg intro a lot, and I don't remember anything past the bum, 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 bum,
Yeah,
bum, bum, bum.
most people
Like
don't.
you never really heard like maybe 30 seconds or 40 seconds into that.
Well, because that's how long his matches lasted. So,
Shots fired.
hey, I
You
was
know,
a huge Goldberg fan back in the day, but you have to admit those were some short matches.
yeah, I think every match for him was a squash match.
Oh, pretty
Jeez.
much, yeah, pretty much.
Lordy.
But I had to actually go in and I have a little 49 key MIDI controller for my keyboard, and I was having to basically put my phone in front of me, pull up the YouTube of the song, and just kind of like, okay, is that's the chord? That's a chord. Okay, I had to just basically do it by ear to the
Mhm.
YouTube version of it to try to figure out, okay, so this chord is wrong. That doesn't go there.
Oh boy. It's
I
I
really
can
had to do that for the watch themes for all the different Bond movies
mhm,
because there weren't because I was having to fit it in the tempo and time signature of the watch theme, so I
mhm.
couldn't just use the MIDI without a lot of adjusting. So I actually had to do those by hand
Boy.
and actually figure, pulling up chord charts. Okay, so this is C sharp. I mean, what are they playing here?
Oh man. Like
that's
I said,
that's
when
why
it
I am glad I have a music degree.
yeah, like I said, sometimes you just have to really love remixing to do this because it's some people think you're just copying like copy pasting a song, but there's a lot more that goes into it when you want to make good remixes.
Oh yeah, because you still have to put your own spin on it.
Yeah, exactly. If you just like take the MIDI of like say for example, since Scrambles mentioned it, like if you just took a MIDI from like Mega Man 2 and you just, put whatever on it and then just posted it to YouTube, I mean like okay, fair enough, you might get some attention on that, but like what's really going to make it stand out is if you take that and then you just make it in a specific genre of music, put like your own kind of just like your own unique blend of instruments or instrumentation onto it and make it really stand out from the pack cuz like it's still going to sound like Flashman or whatever at the end of the day. It's all in like, what you do with that music that really makes you stand out as a remixer.
Mm. Oh yeah, Scrambles 39 is still struggling to learn music theory. Yeah, it's not easy, but it as long as you get the basics down, a lot of the stuff in music theory can be very esoteric.
Mhm.
I mean, unless you're doing a lot of jazz chords, you don't really need to learn a lot about, add nines or diminished or, augmented chords.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just like art. You're always going to be you're always going to be, and you really should try to strive to learn new things as you can,
Mhm.
but you don't have to make this a lifelong pursuit of learning something new about music to practice good music.
Yeah.
Like it's really just have a good foundation in, what you want to do with your music and maybe even some music theory if you want to implement that. But I mean, for some people it works, for some people it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, and other people learn different ways, especially when it comes to get like
Yeah.
with guitar, some people want to learn, just chord charts. They want to learn
Hmm.
patterns. They want to learn, like the guitar's grimoire was actually a great tool for people who didn't like music theory
Hmm.
because it taught it in a different way. So shout out to anyone who's playing guitar that wants to learn but doesn't want to learn music theory. Find the guitar grimoire. I can't remember who wrote it, but it's a black cover and it looks satanic, but it's just because it's got the circle of fifths on it in like red, like reflective paper. It just looks like it from a distance. We used to sell them at Guitar Center, and the first time I saw it, I was like, "What the heck is we learning woodcraft here or something?" Then I picked it up. Oh, it's just a circle of fifths. Okay, no, we're good.
Do we get a shipment in from Hot Topic? What's going on here?
Yeah, exactly. Of course, half of Guitar Center looks like a Hot Topic now, but
Oh no.
that's just me being pedantic about it.
Yeah. Just a sign of the times.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, because they actually used to have people in departments, and now they just don't.
Mm,
So, and they don't really. It's more like a Target than it is a music store.
that's a shame.
but it's a culture thing. They've lost so much money over the years to online that the one thing that they were good at, they decided to ditch in favor of trying to compete with the online.
Mm.
Because it used to be they just hire a bunch of musicians and we'd all just sit around and talk about music all day.
Yeah. I have, as I said, I haven't been to too many like brick and mortar music stores, but I did in my teens, and I remember going there with a friend of mine, and there was like I don't know if he worked there. I think he did, but there was like a guitarist. He just like pulled one of the guitars off the shelves and just started playing, and we had this like discussion about just music. It felt like it went on for like maybe 3 hours.
Mhm.
Like you
Well,
could tell he really loved what he did and he knew what he was talking or knew what he was talking about.
music stores used to be a lot like comic book stores.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times you would go into a comic book store. I mean, yeah, you were going there to pick up something, but you could spend 3-4 hours talking DC versus Marvel
Hmm.
in a comic book store. Music stores used to be like that. You'd be, talking, Stevie Ray Vaughan versus Randy Rhoads,
Hmm.
stuff like that. Although I will say, my probably my worst experience at Guitar Center was when I was working in the pro audio department
Hmm.
and dealing with churches.
Oh boy.
Because they would always, we'd always put it together this big order for them,
Uh-huh.
and they almost to a T would always say, "Well, what's God's price?" And I found the perfect way to get around that
Yeah, I'm all ears.
is I said, "Okay, well, in the Bible, it says to give unto Caesar's what is Caesar's and God's what is God's." Yes, I'm like, well, yeah. It's like this is Caesar's, and it shut them up every time. It's like, don't use my theology back at me. Like, well, this is Caesar's. It's not
Nice.
God's, it's Caesar's. Or we did have what we used to call the Hispanic rental, where a bunch of guys would come in with cash, buy PA equipment, make sure they were all in box. Always ask for the Sony Vega. Had to have Sony Vega, which is a branded speaker, and
Hmm.
it would come back that following Monday.
Heck.
So they would rent it for the weekend, basically.
Oh, okay.
But they want to make sure it was all in box so they could return it, not get dinged a restocking fee, which we should have done anyway.
Mm. Man.
But anyway, well, we're getting up close to the hour here, and this has been a fantastic conversation. We'll definitely have to do it again,
Yeah, for sure.
especially when I figure out how to do audio on this stupid thing. Because I'd like to
Yeah,
do
I
like
mean,
more remixes and stuff like that. So
mhm. I'm sure you'll get it. It's just maybe Paul can help you figure this out because I mean,
yeah,
this is what he does.
it's a learning curve, like with anything. I
Hmm.
can discuss the in and outs of music all day, but when it comes to streaming, yeah, no, I'm a babe in the woods.
Yeah.
Well, a fat babe in the woods. Okay, maybe a fat baby rhino in the woods.
Do rhinos live in woods?
No, it'd be more like the jungle. But yes, Paul, I will definitely hit you up to get some help on that part of it. So I do appreciate you, sir. Yeah, Paul's a good dude. I like Paul quite a bit.
Yeah.
He was my first guest, so I'll be grateful for him for that.
Pretty good first guess,
Mhm.
definitely.
Yeah, I've really been the Legion has also helped me quite a bit because yeah, I've been able to connect with people that I wouldn't have otherwise.
Hmm.
Like last week, I had that '70s rock fan on, and he had a friend of his who was actually a roadie for a lot of the prog bands in the '70s in England.
Yeah, that was a
Like,
kick-ass show, by the way.
I would have never gotten this kind of traction if I hadn't had the Legion connection. So
Yeah, I hear you.
YouTube is all
This
about networking. That's for sure.
It really is, and I mean, like, I was kinda like Paul too when I was younger, like, I never wanted to network it with other musicians or other singers or anything like that, and I'm like, "Fuck it, I'll just do it myself," and then I'm like, "Why is my music at, like, 5 views?"
Mhm.
So so now it's just like
Yep.
I've gotten past that and, thankfully I got in touch with the Legion, again, thanks to Paul, and yeah, it's just been great hanging out with all you dudes and being on shows and talking about what I love and talk music and video games are my two passions in life.
Oh
And
yeah. So what did you think of the direct today?
I didn't watch it. I don't own a Switch, so I don't really keep up with it. I know of some of the stuff. Like F-Zero 99 is probably the thing I was the most hyped for.
Mm.
Like I was telling my wife, like, if we ever get a Switch, it's gonna be for this. But there was some cool stuff on there. I know everyone was psyched for Thousand Year Door
Oh yes.
remaster.
Oh,
Like it's never been my jam, but I know how much people love that game, so
it's so funny. I mean, it's a very irreverent for a Mario game. You know, as irreverent as a Mario game can get
mhm.
without being not a Mario game. But yeah, it's hilarious. It really doesn't take itself seriously, which is what a part of what I love about it so much. And I'm also really
Mhm.
looking forward to the Super Mario RPG uh,
Yeah.
as well because I don't want to spend as much as it costs to get a cartridge of that
Mhm.
because I have a fairly extensive video game collection, but even I can't afford a lot of things anymore.
Yeah, there are some SNES, like NES and SNES cartridges that are just obscenely priced.
Yep. Although oddly enough, one of my most expensive games that I own is Cubivore on the GameCube.
Really? How much is that?
I've seen it go anywhere from 5 to 700 for a
Damn.
game that did not sell well at all when it came out.
Usually that's usually the case though.
Yeah.
It's those games that like they didn't sell well or they like weren't really marketed well that are the truly expensive games.
Mhm. Well, because usually a lot of times they would have a limited amount they had to
Mhm.
because obviously it didn't sell, so they weren't going to be keeping producing it while it was relevant. So they're just like, we're done.
Yeah. Or it's like those games that came out really late into a console's lifespan.
Mm,
So, like, they just never got the push, like, Star Tropics 2 on the NES is extremely hard to find, or, I think Mega Man 6 is actually the hardest one to find just because it came out in, like, '93,
mhm.
and, I mean, the Super Nintendo had already been out for years by that point,
Yeah.
so, like
Well, and the other thing that I do as a side, what I also in the video game space is we did custom covers.
oh, sweet.
So I don't know if you've ever heard of the cover project.net.
I know the cover project, yeah.
I've been on there for years as a cover admin.
Oh, kick ass. Yeah, I know about that site. In fact, when I do, retro remixes, when I wanna find, like, HD versions of, like, the original game covers, that's usually where I get them from.
So if you see Lumberjack 42, that's one that I did.
Sweet.
Because I've actually been doing that since oh god, oh 03 or oh 04.
Damn.
So yeah, that's where I sharpened my Photoshop skills was doing that.
Oh, nice.
So and I also have a ridiculous font list.
Oh, I believe it. I
Because
believe it. If you're doing cover restorations, yeah, you'd kinda need it.
yeah. Well, and of course, especially the older games when you get into, Atari, ColecoVision, and Intellivision days, a
Mhm.
lot of the times those fonts were never digitally reproduced.
Yeah, that's a
So
good
it's
point.
finding the closest proximity that you can.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, especially the Atari fonts, because
Mhm.
they were a mix of different fonts. Telegames, the Sears Telegames versions were notoriously bad for that,
Mhm.
where it would actually have basically 3 different fonts in the name.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was one on, like, the end label, there was one on, like, the label proper, and I can't think of where the 3rd font would be.
Well, no, I mean in the actual like, just in on the front, like
Oh, okay, okay.
like Breakaway 4. It had, I think, 2 to 3 different fonts in that part of it alone.
Jeez.
Because, again, they weren't using digital at the time to make them. They were, hand making these things.
Yeah, that's very true.
So, well, I don't want to keep you too much longer. We're right at here at the end. So go ahead and just again tell everyone where they can find you, where they can find your stuff, and definitely like and subscribe, Mr. Axis. He's at 414 subs. He needs a few more to get that 500.
Yeah, what I really need is watch time, but hey, I'm not gonna say no to subs for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But for those of you who don't know where to find me, I'm DJAxis. Once again, I do original music and retro remixes. You can find me right here on YouTube. My channel name is just DJAxis. I'm on Rumble, and I'm also on Twitter. My Twitter link is right there in my description on StreamYard here.
Awesome. And again, for programming, next week we will be back with the Gamers Edition, talking again more remixes, and we'll be talking a little bit more on the synthwave lo-fi side of things. So that's
Kick
definitely going to be a lot of
ass.
fun.
Yeah, I'm definitely tuning in for that one.
Yeah, definitely Scrambles. Check out DJAxis. His stuff is killer. Definitely killer. Oh yeah, a lot of the stuff that we do, it's great for putting on in the background and just having that work with. I did that a lot with Japanese jazz fusion that I discovered in the last couple of years.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
It's
my
always
wife my wife got me big into Japanese city pop, speaking of.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, I've been listening to pretty much Cassiopeia and Prism for the last 2 years.
Sweet. Not a bad thing to be listening to, that's for sure.
Ooh. Oh no, definitely. Awesome. Well, again, thank you everyone here on YouTube and the couple that are watching over on Rumble. I'm trying to build up over there, so I'm also on Rumble as well. But we will see you guys next week. And as always, I cannot stress this enough. Keep making music. Everyone,
Hell yeah.
have a good evening.
Peace.